blind and deaf, what your life would be. Please close your eyes and ears for 5 seconds. Okay, what do you feel?
Terrible.
Terrible. And could you believe that such a person who is both deaf and blind could write books on their own? Could you believe that such a person could graduate from Harvard University? And could you believe such a person who could contribute a lot to the society?
No.
Now today I'm going to tell you a story about such a person. She is Helen Keller. And she showed example that the disabilities doesn't mean the end of a world. And I'm going to tell you about her early childhood and illness, and her formal education, and her contribution and awards. And firstly, let's come to her early childhood and illness. And Helen Keller was born in America in 1880, and she was born in the house. And when she was born, she was quite healthy. She had the ability to see and to hear. But happiness didn't last long, and at the age of 19 months old, she was caught by a fever, and which caused her to be blind and deaf. And at that time, the only word in her memory was water. And gradually, she began to struggle from the world, because the world is misery and bitterness, and she wanted to free from it. And also, her parents were eager to search for a teacher who could help their daughter to learn, especially the teacher who had experience of teaching a child who was blind and deaf. And fortunately, they found a teacher. Her name was Annie Sullivan. She was so patient and so friendly, and she was the bride to the lonely girl, and she brought light to the girl and brought her out of her darkness. And she changed a bad-tempered girl into a gentle child. And she taught her how to read, to write, even to how to think. And the first word that Helen Keller learned was "thou." The "thou" is the gift that Annie brought to her. And also, at that time, just now I mentioned, water is the only word in Helen Keller's memory. But word was quite difficult for her to understand. She couldn't understand what water means. And one day, when they passed a pump well, and Annie put Helen's hand under the water coming out of the pump well, and also spell W-A-T-E-R on her hand. And Helen understood the meaning of water, and she rejoiced. And also, Annie told Helen to learn by touching and smiling. When Annie pronunciation, she let Helen touch her throat to feel the vibration of the throat, to feel the change of the jaw and the mouth, and to guess, to understand the meaning of the words. And Helen Keller liked smiling and touching, and she was curious at everything gradually. And Annie taught Helen to write. And these are Helen's early handwriting. Early handwriting, we can see coat, cat, load, and doll, etc. Even hat. And also, at the age of 10, Helen Keller mastered the Braille. It has a system of printing, especially for the blind people. And also she learned the alphabet. And even she learned how to use a typewriter. So it was marvelous. And she began to receive the formal education. And these are the schools that Helen Keller entered. In 1888, she entered to Perkins School in Boston, and in 1894 she entered to Wright Hume School for the Deaf in New York City, and in 1896 she entered Cambridge College for Young Ladies, and the most important one is in 1900 she entered to the Radcliffe College of Harvard University, and 4 years later she graduated from the Harvard University and earned a Bachelor of Arts degree. And Helen Keller was the first person who was deaf and blind graduated from college. And this picture is at that time she graduated, and she earned the Bachelor of Arts degree. And after school, Helen Keller wanted to learn more about the world, and she began to think about what she could do to help others, especially help the blind and the disabilities. And she also tackled different kinds of social and political issues. And in this picture, Helen Keller was checking a communication device for the blind people. And in this picture, she was at institute with the blind soldiers in Rome, Italy. And just because of her great contribution, the American government awarded her. And in 1964, the President Johnson, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Johnson. And next year, in 1965, she was awarded the Women's Hall of Fame. And also, by the way, this award was the nation's highest civilian award in America. And besides those contributions, Helen Keller herself, as a writer, she wrote about 12 books. And these books are the two typical books. And these books are quite popular in China. And they are highly recommended by almost all the Chinese teachers. And I bought 2 books for my son just before my coming to Toronto. And my son told me that he loved the 2 books. He loved the books very much. And today I told you a story about Helen Keller and her early childhood and illness, and the formal education she received, and especially her contribution and awards. And I think Helen Keller just inspired the future, the generation of peoples, especially for the disabilities. And also, she was a model. She is a model for you and me. And she says, I will not just live my life. I will not just spend my life. I will invest my life. Thank you.